Welcome to another wonderful edition of Comet Algebra. This video is for Algebra 1, Chapter 6, Section 4, Writing Linear Equations. So we're going to do a little more with the y equals mx plus b in this section. We need to be able to given all different types of information and come up with the equation of the line. So, for example, we may be given the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, well that would be easy. Then we could write the y equals mx plus b. Or perhaps we're given the slope and some point that is on the line. And then we'd have to do some math, and we're still, the two things we're always going to be after is find the m and find the b. Because once you have those two things, then you can write your y equals mx plus b. Another thing we could be given is 2 points on the line. And then we'd have to find, this would be probably the hardest one. We'd have to do the work it takes to find this m, and then do the work it takes to find the b. Or this one I don't mind so much. When we're given the graph of the line, we can pull the y-intercept off the graph and count to find the slope. So the key to remember to be able to write y equals mx plus b, always find the m, and usually you find the m first, and then find the b. Once you have those two things, you have the equation of the line. So this first example is very straightforward, pretty easy. It says write the equation of the line where the slope is given to you. So the way I start these, I always come over here to the side and write m equals and b equals, and then I see what information I'm given. Like I said, this is very straightforward. The slope is 2/5, so we can just write that here. And the y-intercept is 0, 4. And just so you read that, 0 is the x. Whenever x is 0, you know that that y is the y-intercept. So this is a free gift. We are given that b is -4. And so we just plug in. For the m, we write the 2/5, 2/5 x, don't forget the x. And then the intercept is -4, and we are done. Next example, we're asked to write the equation of a line that goes through this point and has a slope of -1/2. So once again, I always start m equals and b equals. Those are the two things I need. Well, we are told the slope, the m. We know that much. It's -1/2, but we do not know the b this time. We just know that this line goes through this point. So let's go back to looking at y equals mx plus b, and this time look at it as a formula. This formula has 4 letters in it: y, m, x, and b. We're given 4 letters to work with. And over here in my information I'm given, there's one number, there's another, and there's another. So we have 3 numbers that were given. If we could figure out where to put those in here, I have 4 letters. The one that I'm missing, this b, this is the one that I need. I need to find this b, and then I can write the equation of a line. So you're an algebra student. When you have a formula with 4 letters, and you're given 3 numbers, plug them into the right place and solve for the missing one. Well, any point that lies on the line is an xy point, and so this x is -5 and this y is 6. So if you put that in this equation where the x and y are, and we put this -1/2 where the m is, we have these 3 letters. We can solve for this 4th letter, this b. So let's plug them in. Where the y is, let's put the 6, then the equal sign. The m is -1/2. The x is -5. So times -5. I'm going to put the -5 over 1 just so we see it as a fraction. And then we have plus b. We don't know what b is. That's what we're going to solve for. So let's multiply negative 1/2 times negative 5, and that would be a positive 5/2 plus b. So the next step is to subtract a 5/2 from both sides. So let's write this 6. I guess I could first write it as 6 over 1, and then we need to write it in denominator of a 2 because we need to have common denominators. 2 times 6 is 12/2. So now I have 12/2 minus 5/2, which is 7/2. So now I have found my b. And once again, when you know m and b, you can write the equation of the line. So I write that as y equals negative 1/2 x plus 7/2. Don't forget, after you do all the work to find the m and b, to actually write it with the x and the y, so you have the equation of the line. The next example asks to write the equation of a line that passes through the point 1, -6 and has a slope of 0. So once again, I'm looking for m and b, m being the slope. This time we are told that the slope is 0, so I'm going to write that in 0. And once again, we're missing our b. So this hopefully is going to sound repetitive from the last example. Of these 4 letters in this equation, I know 3 of them. So let's plug in the 1 for x, the -6 for y, and that the m is 0. So that gives me -6 equals 0 times 1 plus b. Well, 0 times 1 is nothing, so that leaves me with -6 equals b. So now I have my slope and my y-intercept. I can write y equals 0x minus 6. And usually we don't write the 0x. We just simplify this down to y equals -6. And that's the equation of the line. All right, this next example is a little more challenging. We are only given 2 points on the line, and both of these are an xy pair that happen to lie on the line. And I know that I need the slope, the m, and I need the b, the y-intercept. But we're not given any of these this time. So now we have to think back a couple sections and remember this formula. The formula of finding slope when we have 2 xy's, y minus y over x minus x. So we have to do some work here to even begin, and we need to find our slope. So once again, whichever one you start with, like if you're going to start with this -2, remember we have the y's on top, -2 minus 3 over 4 minus 1 would give me the slope. This is -5, and this is +3. So now I'm halfway there. I have found the slope. And once again, of the 4 letters in this equation, y equals mx plus b, of those 4 letters, we know 3 of them. Both of these points lie on the line, so it does not matter which xy you choose. You can choose either one and we'll still get the same y-intercept. But we do have to use the -5/3 for your slope. So I guess I'm just going to use the first ordered pair for no particular reason. So 3 equals -5/3 times x is 1 plus b. So just doing the math here, I need to add a 5/3 to both sides. So I need to have 3 over 1 written with a common denominator of 3. So we're multiplying top and bottom by 3. So that gives me 9/3. So I have 9/3 plus 5/3 is 14/3. And so now I have my b. But please don't stop right here. Sometimes students make the mistake of they did all the work, they found m and b, but then they don't write the equation. Remember, the equation has an x and a y in it. So we'll write y equals, the slope is -5/3 times x plus 14/3. And there we have the equation of the line passing through those 2 points. All right, perhaps this is the easiest example where we're given the graph and we have to write the equation. And once again, this should be kind of getting repetitious. We want the m and we want the b. So I guess the b is a little easier for me in this one. We just look, where does this thing cross the y-axis? And we can see right, it's down there at -1. And so now we can count from any intersection where it hits where the blue line hits the intersections on the graph paper. So I'm going to try to mark some so that I can count and see if I've got the pattern consistently right. Okay, I think I've marked the intersections I could find. Just by looking at this line, the fact that it is going downhill from left to right, I could just put a negative sign here so that I don't forget to put that in while I'm working and focusing on counting. So we're going down 1, 2, 3 and over 2, down 1, 2, 3 and over 2. Make sure you count several times to make sure you have the pattern correctly. Down 1, 2, 3 and over 2. So it looks like my slope is a -3/2. Again, don't stop there. Finish the problem. Write your y equals, the m is -3/2, and the y-intercept is -1. So there we have the equation of the line from that graph. All right, now you have the knowledge you need to do section 4, so have fun with math.